Welcome to Successfully Ambiguous, the podcast that guides professionals through the changing world of work so you can find your own way, your own path, your success. So, Susan, I hear you're writing a new book by doing 30 episodes of your podcast, AI Literacy for Entrepreneurs in 30 Days. What have you learned about that process?
It's insane. I don't know why I took this up. I mean, it's like a unhinged project. I started it on the 29th of November. I've written another book before, and I did it without AI, and that was hard and it took time. And, I was like, when it gets to AI, it must be easier. I mean, I have so much to say. And I literally jumped off the cliff on the first weekend that the thing came out, and I've been so obsessed with it. So I have, there's a book in my head. And the reason I didn't write it yet is because I feel like, will this be obsolete before it's finished? Like, what is the point of the book? And so I had to do some work around that and say, this is not the type of book I'm writing. I'm writing a book that goes a little bit deeper into the philosophies and the usage and what drives humans. And so it's like, before I change my mind, I better do something to get it out. And at that point, another, one of my friends in the general circles was doing a little experiment where he and his co-host were doing 30 podcasts in 30 days. And they were like, anyone who wants to join the challenge is welcome to do so. And I feel like I'm the only one who was crazy enough to say, yeah, I'll do it.
Susan, this month you told us that the title would be Swan Dive Backwards. And what I like about your approach to leveraging AI, particularly in marketing, is that you seem to be looking at it as a way to scale good storytelling. So like your book, getting to the fundamentals and the philosophy and the why behind the human elements. And on this show, right from our very first episode, we've been advocating for the responsible use of AI. How do we ensure that we're not inadvertently scaling systemic barriers or biases that we have as we use AI?
I mean, that's definitely a fear. I'm not going to lie to you. It is. I mean, we live in a world where there's so many injustices and so many biases and so many gaps that already exist, right? And so if we just rush into it, like you're saying, blindly without being mindful of that, you're just going to scale that chaos. You're going to scale that bias, and you're going to scale the injustice of it all. And so I think that one of the things, to keep it really simple for everyone, that I will say is that you cannot have a voice unless you participate. And so I think thinking about AI in that same way, which is like, don't sit on the outside and be afraid of it. Instead, get into the inside and have your voice be heard. These tools are shaped by the humans that use them. They draw upon data that is real human data. Now, there's questionable uses of things. Obviously, lots of these LLMs or large, language models are trained on data that they were perhaps not allowed to be trained on, intellectual property that belongs to people, references that are common to all, that kind of thing. So, but, for me, I like to think about it as, let's not try to boil the ocean and solve all the problems on one day. Instead, just get in there, get your voice heard, use it, be open to it the way we were open to like calculators when they came out,
right?
Or computers or the internet. These are all massive milestone changes, and we did well with them. And so this is one more.
Well, and I like the way you're positioning this, because it's almost like getting first player or early player advantage in a video game. If you start as one of the first in an online platform, you're often you gain ground that other people just who come later just can't make up for, right? You get all the best, I don't know, weapons and skins and whatever you're competing for. So I'm not a video game player, but I've been looking at first player advantage for a little bit. And this is true. We have an opportunity now with AI to ensure it's inclusive by having everybody jump in a way and just get their feet wet to make sure everybody's represented. We've often spoken about the anxiety business people face when regarding the rapid adoption of AI. Do you have any advice for the entrepreneurs in the audience on how to conquer that anxiety?
You just, like with anything else, I think you just have to do it. You have to talk yourself off the thing and start playing, right? And it helps to simplify it. The mind is a powerful thing, so if the fear sets in, it's hard to control. So you might want to compare it to other things. It's like, oh, I'm going to start a fitness program, or I'm starting a new course of study. All of these things are large undertakings, and then people can get afraid. So just break it down into a simple thing. And for entrepreneurs in particular, it is my thinking that this is a time of unfair advantage. So if that doesn't get your entrepreneurial spirit going, I'd be surprised. So, think of it as like for limited amount of time, maybe a few years, you're able to do things that only very large companies were able to do in the past. You have access to tools for free or low cost that can make your systems and your processes and all of that much easier. I mean, I'm afraid that at this point, a lot of people are still using it for the obvious things, like defaulting to writing practices, right? Because the interface is a written interface. And so the most obvious use for it is like, oh, let's get it to do some writing. And so as educators, we understand that a lot of people are like, oh, let's just get this to write a project or write a post or write, your homework or whatever it is. But it can do so much more than that. It can literally help you diagnose any issues in your current business plan. It can help you think of new lines of business. It can help you, troubleshoot any blocks that you have. It can help you learn. I think that's the most important part of it, is it can help you if you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this and I have to hire people with tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not saying that it's going to replace expertise, but it can certainly give you access to some of it.
Well, and it can give you access to a different viewpoint. I recently used it to do some research on our own product line and put in, tell me about this at the School of Continuing Studies. And it found some gaps in our marketing. Some of the parts of the story we thought we were telling quite effectively that obviously weren't coming across in a way that could be picked up by the scan.
Mm.
Right? We met when you came to teach for the School of Continuing Studies, and I know you teach how to incorporate AI into marketing in a way that is very human and really focuses on the human side of things and good storytelling, but scaling. In a recent study from a labor market research firm we work with called Lightcast found that jobs requiring AI-related skills offer higher annual salaries already than those that don't. And it's not just like tech-heavy things like IT and computer science, but it's a lot of other sectors. And so they went in and they identified about 300 different AI skills, including, yes, prompt engineering, but ethics, governance, regulation, robotics, natural language processing, that kind of thing. And according to this, a student or a person who develop just one AI related skill would get a 28% salary boost when switching jobs over somebody who didn't. And if you had two, it'd be about 43% of a salary boost. So thinking about all that work you do to educate entrepreneurs and students on how to jump in and develop their AI skills, what advice would you have for people who want to, take advantage of that and future-proof themselves?
I love that question. And I definitely talk about this with my students. And I say to them, like, think of yourself as basically the AI centers in the organizations that you join, right? Because at this point in history, there's a good chance that there are no experts. Like, no, none of us, even people like me who work in the field, we haven't done the 10,000 hours that it takes to call mastery, right? I mean, so we're all in this sort of relatively starting line space. And so when, you go into an organization and you bring some AI readiness, let's say, and some AI optimism. I don't even want to say any of the expert / whatever words. It's just AI curiosity. And when you bring that to the table, people will notice. This is like 20 years ago. When was it? Not even 20, maybe 15 years ago when social media came out. Like, the people at that time had an unusual opportunity to come in there and be like, I know how to do this. Like, I know how to instinctively show up and be visible. And I know how to do that for you. And so many jobs were created out of that. I think that's how it's going to be for AI.
I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. If you haven't had a chance to read Susan's books, or most importantly, to catch her podcast, AI Literacy for Entrepreneurs, please do. And I'm looking forward to reading that new book, Swan Dive Backwards, pretty soon. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Successfully Ambiguous. Be sure and subscribe to us on YouTube and listen to us on Apple and Spotify. If you've got career questions, be sure to email me at successfullyambiguous@yorq.ca. Don't forget, when opportunity knocks, be ready to answer.